Right now, you know who you are. You know your name, your role, the people who depend on you, and the person those people expect to see when you walk into a room. You carry this self so naturally that it barely feels like something you built. It just feels like you. But here is what almost no one tells you. Personality is not born once. In the mid-20th century, a developmental psychologist named Erik Erikson proposed something that sounded simple and turned out to be enormous. Identity is not a fixed thing you discover one day and carry forever. It is something that forms, cracks, reforms, and, if the conditions are right, forms again at a completely different depth. Twice. Erikson believed the self has two births. Most people only know about the first one. The first birth happens without your permission. You are small. The people around you, your family, your school, the culture you were poured into, do not know they are doing it, but they are building you. They reflect back what is acceptable, what is lovable, what makes the group function. You learn who to be by watching who they need you to be. You become a son, a student, a reliable one, a funny one, a quiet one. You take these shapes so naturally they stop feeling like shapes. They feel like truth. Erikson called the central crisis of adolescence identity versus role confusion. The young person asks, sometimes desperately, "Who am I?" And the answer that arrives is almost always a social one. I am the person my world has been building. A psychologist who extended Erikson's work, James Marcia, mapped this even further. He found that some people resolve this crisis early and cleanly. They adopt the identity their family and culture prepared for them, and they carry it forward without friction. He called this foreclosure, not failure, just an early and stable landing. This firstborn self is not a lie. It is real. It is the indestructible link between a person and the society that made them. And for many people, it is more than enough. There are lives, genuinely full, genuinely happy, genuinely well-lived lives built entirely inside this first self. A person who loves their work, loves their people, and wakes up each morning without a crack in their sense of who they are has not failed to develop. They simply did not need to go further. Some of the warmest, most grounded people you will ever meet never crossed beyond this first self. And that is not a lesser life. But sometimes, not always because something went wrong, the first self begins to press at its own edges. A question surfaces that has no social answer. Not who do others need me to be? Something older, something underneath. Who am I when no one is watching? What do I actually want, not what I was trained to want? This is the doorway to the second birth. It rarely looks like liberation at first. It usually looks like a crisis. The identity that held everything together suddenly feels like a costume. The values you carried without examining suddenly need examining. Erikson described this in the later stages of his model as integrity versus despair. The confrontation with whether the self you lived was truly yours or only ever the self that was convenient for everyone around you. A developmental theorist named Robert Kegan spent decades mapping what happens when people cross this threshold. He described it as a shift in the relationship between a person and their own mind. In the first self, you are your social roles. You cannot see them because you are inside them. In the second self, you can hold those roles at a distance. You still have them, but now you have them rather than being them. The difference sounds subtle, but it is certainly not. The second birth is not a departure from the world that made you. The person who moves through it does not abandon their relationships, their community, their history. They return to all of it, but now from a different position. They are no longer a product of their world. They are a participant in it. They belong to it by choice rather than by formation. Erikson's great insight was that this passage is available to anyone. The path does not close. There is no age at which you can no longer cross the threshold of your own personality. The second birth can come at 40, at 60, in a hospital room, in a quiet kitchen, in an ordinary morning when something that was always there finally makes itself visible. The only requirement is a willingness to hold the question, not as a threat, but as an opening. Right now, you know who you are. The only question worth carrying is whether the self you know is the first answer or whether you have started, even slowly, to sense that there might be a second one waiting underneath it. This path could also lead you to a personality disorder, but we'll talk about that in another video. Thanks for watching, and take care.